that's targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletter. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Are you one of thousands of individuals who know you have psychic abilities but don't know how to tap into your higher self? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who offers classes that can help you reach your goals. Refined Divine holds classes Monday and Thursday at her 2 locations and via Zoom. Classes consist of manifestation, learning psychic abilities, shadow work, and healing trauma. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 27, then Tuesday sunshine with a high of 42. The music is still the hottest at Crooner's Supper Club in Fridley. Crooner's is located just north of I-694 off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive. View their upcoming music schedules and food menus at croonersloungemn.com.
Or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday evening. And oh, what a Monday it was. How beautiful it was out there. Man, you know, it just gets you ready for spring. It was just gorgeous. I thought it was going to only be, not only about it, I thought it was going to be like in the mid to upper 50s, where when I was driving off to class tonight, I saw that it was actually 69 degrees. And that was pretty exciting. I was really happy about that. Now, I'm, it's been a busy day. Mondays currently are very busy. I go into the station, I do station stuff, and we're planning a lot of cool things at the station right now. I'm helping out with that. And then I teach classes Monday for the paranormal. And then I come out here and I end the evening on a high note and I do the radio show. And so I'm excited for a couple things. I'm excited to talk to my guest tonight. I am also really excited to make dinner. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to be perfectly honest there. On days like this, that seem that, there's a lot of cool things, but it goes on and on and on. It's going to be nice to have dinner afterwards, which, it's never a smart idea, is it? Never a smart idea to eat so late. And I never learned my lesson. But then again, when other time am I able to eat, and don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me. I will persevere, and I will tomorrow I will have I will dinner before the show. I know you're all very excited about that. You know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about having my friend author Joe Prosit on tonight. We've had him on about 10 million times, and he keeps coming on with new books. He keeps impressing us with his ability to write amazing books, write fiction, and he's with us tonight. He just released, literally hot off the press, a new horror novel called They Come From Below. It debuted March 8th at the Cattails Books and Gifts in downtown Brainerd. We got a lot to talk about here. Joe is tireless about promoting his work. He travels all across the Midwest, appearing at conventions, markets, and in stores. He's going to be at the Milwaukee HorrorCon on March 14th through the 16th, and at QuadCon in the St. Cloud Crossroads Mall on March 22nd and 23rd. The cough is free, folks, by the way. Just know the cough is free. And his books are also available through his website, joeprosit.com, and other online retailers. And Joe, as always, it is such a pleasure to have you on. Welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, it's always fun to come on the radio and chat.
Absolutely. And you know, what I love about all this is, and I asked you this a couple years ago when we first had you on, like, just let me know when you have some new stuff to share, because I want to know what and you know, because it's not only because it's great to get you on. And I say this every time you're on, I am always so impressed watching how you work it. You know how you're working the Midwest, quite frankly, to try. You are busting it to get the word out there about your books. It's so impressive to see how much effort you put into this.
You know, I love doing it. It's great. I have the opportunity. I have a huge opportunity that I'm able to do this full time. So to be able to travel all around and bring my books to all these people and visit different towns and cities and meet new readers and share my passion for my stories, it really is like a dream come true. So yeah, tomorrow I'm hitting the road and heading down to Chicago and going down there with a friend. Our daughters are both roommates together, so we're going to visit our daughters. And in the meantime, you know, check out some good, cool sites and eat some good food in Chicago and have some fun. And then from there, it's right to Milwaukee. And speaking of Chicago and traveling, I just got word that I got a booth at C2E2. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's the biggest comic book convention in the Midwest. It's the Chicago Comics and Entertainment Expo. It's coming up here in April, so super excited about that, and really all these stops along the way.
I was going to say C2E2, wasn't he in Star Wars? But okay, no, I'm with you now. I remember when I was younger in my 20s, and there was like 3 conventions, and
right.
It's kind of hard to keep up with it all. Now, I got a serious question for you as you're going to Chicago. Have you do you like Chicago style pizza?
I do. Yeah. Like the deep dish.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to Pequod's in Chicago?
Oh, I'm gonna write this down. Pequod's.
Yeah. No, you will thank me, and that's fine, because it's really good. There's 2 locations, but there's one that's in like just outside in one of the neighborhoods of Chicago that it's pretty special. It's pretty good. Now, did I understand this correctly? Your newest horror book, and it's going to be a long night of me trying to say horror. They Come From Below. Is this did you say this is your 6th book?
Yeah, 6th novel, and then plus
the
2 short story collections.
Yeah, and in a span of how long is this now?
Well, I've really been releasing them for about 3 years now, but I you know, as I was active duty Army and retired about a year and a half ago, and as I was creeping up to that date, I knew I wanted to give all my effort towards this, so I kind of, you know, had rounds in the chamber, so to speak, to use a military term, of all these novels. But I think this book right here, They Come From Below, I think this is the first book that I wrote entirely after my retirement.
You know, it kind of leads to a question I was going to ask you. It's like, how many books do you tend to kind of have going at once? Because I could imagine that there's a lot of books in different stages. Maybe there's books that you're working on and you just kind of stop for a while and come back and revisit later. You know, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I kind of do like a conveyor belt or like a leapfrog system where I'll do a full draft, and then usually I'll let that sit and kind of simmer in the background, and then work on another. Maybe it's the 2nd or 3rd or 4th draft of another novel, and then go back and leapfrog back to that novel and bring it from a 1st draft to a 2nd draft until I finally have a finished product. But it's, you know, I've regularly said it takes at least a good year worth of work to kick something out.
Yeah.
And because I've had them kind of rounds in the chamber, I've been able to release about a book every about 6 months is what I'm aiming for.
Do you feel like that leapfrog approach helps you with your creativity?
Yeah, for sure. Because my biggest sin that I see for myself and to others is I don't want to bore myself and I don't want to bore others. So I'm a slave to novelty, to being entertained, to being excited about things. So if I spend too much time on one project, it starts to feel way too much like work and way too much
Yeah.
of a slog, and I lose the energy for it. So alternating like that helps me stay fresh and excited and tackle new things. And it's also the reason why I have a hard time sticking with one genre. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I do a lot of horror, but I also do a lot of science fiction, and then I dabble in some other things. And I got some fantasy stuff that's kind of in the works and has been in the works for a long time too.
That's cool. And do you find that working on one book is a catalyst for filling in holes for another book? Like you might just be like, kind of suddenly you can have maybe a eureka moment or something, maybe something that's kind of been sticking in one book that suddenly just kind of working through it on something else might affect maybe another book.
Sometimes it's really hard to. I wish I knew where to grab those eureka moments from.
Sure.
You know, we were talking a little bit before the show, where I had the short story that I thought was 95% done, and at the last minute, I shared it with my wife, and we talked about the ending. And he's like, I think there's just something missing right at the end there. And through that conversation, it popped, and I'm like, I know exactly what I need to do. 2-3 paragraphs later, I had the perfect ending to the short story, and I have her to thank for that in that conversation.
Well,
So, yeah.
It seems like you're very collaborative. Like it's your book, it's your stories, but you are very open to other people's ideas and constructive feedback.
Yeah, and I think it makes everything a little better to have that outside input, because you might think it's the best thing since sliced bread and you're in love with it, but when you get too close and you're too in love with it, you fail to see the glaring flaws. So I love working with other people. I think that's something that I took from the Army, is that camaraderie, that teamwork, and I'm really thankful to have found that with a whole group of writers that I've come to know, both in here in Brainerd and also all around the Midwest as I've been doing these events.
Well, and it seems like based on our last couple of conversations, that it's very clear that you find very important to be a part of that writers community, whether it's local or beyond. And I can't help but think, I mean, that's a major good thing. I mean, would you say that all writers kind of do that, or some really keep to themselves?
I think the stereotypical writer is definitely that isolated, introspective person, and there's definitely multiple aspects of anybody's personality. But I do think that a lot of writers tend to stay to themselves, or a lot of time, we kind of struggle to have that public face, because it's a whole different skill set. It's a whole different atmosphere, right? Like I can spend the job of a writer is to stay in his own head or her head for hours on end, day after day after day, right?
Yeah.
So it's really like a different skill set to do things like come on the radio and talk, or go out and meet people and socialize or network, or even just to be a salesperson and present your book.
Well, and that's just it. You have to do something that most, a lot of writers probably should do, and they may not do. But I mean, it has to be in your DNA. It has to be part of your personality. I think to a certain degree that you're just wanting to get out there and talk about your stuff and also meet people, which not everyone wants to, I'm sure.
I think it's always a joy when you run into somebody who, especially like a stranger, who is excited about your book. And I've had repeat customers come back to me, and I've had someone come up to my table, see my book, point to it, and say, "Oh, my coworker read this book and she loved it, and then she bought the book." And I'm like, "Wow, if that's not the best endorsement around, if that's not the best way to make a sale, I don't know what is."
Absolutely. That's incredible. And that's the fun part is the people who kind of come out of nowhere, and next thing you know, that they've been such a big fan. They've been following. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Linda in the comments here says, my writer friend Carl specialized in short stories. He would develop the whole story in his head before putting it into digital type. It's kind of funny. You and I were kind of talking about that to a certain degree prior to the program, about kind of mapping out and plotting your stories in your books, and talking about how sometimes some writers don't do that as well.
Yeah. And definitely my own process is slightly different for novels than short stories.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I start my novels, I do a lot of work before I ever write the first line. I do a lot of plotting and figuring out and characters and kind of working out the big pieces before I ever start writing it down. Now, sometimes when I have a short story, I'll do a little bit of that work beforehand, but clearly it doesn't take nearly as much with a novel.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just kind of lands in my head like a gift from the universe, and I'm able to get to work right away and write it whole cloth without ever doing any sort of like planning or prep work.
I would think that that's also a muscle too that you've developed over time, being able to probably formulate and be able to write. I mean, I could see, and I don't want to simplify it, but be able to write stuff down, because there's a lot of creativity, and sometimes the creativity doesn't always there. But I mean that you do it enough that you're doing what you do well, and you're probably you're going to be able to do it much quicker than, say, me trying to do it, because I haven't been developing that in any way.
I think the process has gotten a lot smoother for me, and a little more streamlined, but it's definitely, there's always that question that probably every writer gets asked. It's, where do you come up with your ideas? And I think over time I've learned that, like, when I'm looking for ideas, when I'm looking for that new short story or that new novel, it's kind of like I'm a sponge of the universe. And whether it's, a lot of times it's media and movies and music and stories and books and comics, and other times it's just things that people say or things that I see that are out in the world. And I never know where it's going to come from, but always to be receptive of it is the key, I think.
No, that's very. It makes a lot of sense to me. Very true. I want to go ahead and do this right now. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to really get into the book that Joe has written, They Come From Below. We're also going to get to an excerpt from the book that Joe is going to read for us. We have a lot more to get to. Stick around. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality.
At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we had some really nice weather today, and I know it's going to stay. You never know when the snow is going to dump on us. After all, we haven't got to the basketball tournament yet. But I just want to remind folks, start planning here, because as you heard in the commercial break, Minneapolis Trolley Tours, they are doing something very special. And they do a narrated scenic tour, candlelight ghost tour, Gilded Age mansion tour, true crime tour. This place, and I have done this this tour a number of times. The paranormal one. We've investigated the 300 Clifton Mansion, which is utterly beautiful. Go to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. Please go check out their online booking form. You can find out when certain tours are happening. You can also sign up for them. You definitely want to do the Candlelight Ghost Tour, narrated scenic tour, the True Crime Tour. There's also the Prince and the Minneapolis Sound tour, as well as the Minnehaha Falls Ride. Folks, there is a lot of great things going on over at Minneapolis Trolley Tours. So, I'm telling you on Monday, so by the time the weekend hits, you have your plans figured out and ready to go. To get more information, go to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com and make sure you let them know that GhostBox Radio had asked you to go check it out. Welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. We are talking about the 6th novel that Joe Prosit has just put out, called They Come From Below. Now, Joe, is it now available? I wasn't sure if the event on the 8th was something separate, or is it out there for all of us to enjoy?
Yeah, it is out there for everybody to enjoy. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it through my website. I think it's on barnesandnoble.com. It's also in a couple of bookstores. We're really just in Cattails right now in Brainerd, but I'm going to be kind of driving around and hitting up some bookstores and getting it in local bookstores too, because I always love supporting local businesses.
Especially bookstores, right? I mean,
right.
Just because you're an author, but I mean, they are truly, they need to be preserved, don't they?
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about Cattails, just because so we did a kind of a book launch event. People could come in, a lot of people came in, bought some books, got signatures. It's a great event. Lucas is the guy who runs the shop there. He's a very cool guy to work with. And he let me know while we were there that the place has a basement, and it has a sub basement, and that sub basement is connected to a whole series of tunnels that run around underneath Brainerd, Minnesota. And I'd heard rumors about these tunnels. Mm-hmm. And the reason he told me this is because, he kind of had an advanced copy of the book, and in the book, there's all these underground tunnels. It's kind of a Minnesota staple that, whether it's at Princeton, Brainerd, St. Paul has thousands of tunnels underneath it. And I think just because of our cold weather and because of the geology, it was just a thing to have all these tunnels connecting different places amongst these cities. So yeah, and I guess that kind of leads into the book.
Yeah, and the book is called They Come From Below. I know you want to read an excerpt of it, but first off, what is this book about?
Yeah, so this book follows the story of a woman named Abby. She loves to read books. She lives in a small town in northern Minnesota, maybe a little smaller than Brainerd, but not too much smaller. And life is good and boring and mundane. Her only problem is anytime her sense of morality is wavering or she feels like she's sinning, a physical demon from hell climbs up her basement steps and she has to murder it with an axe.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't just happen at her home. It also happens wherever she's at. She has this sort of this curse of, when she feels like she's sinning or her morality or virtues are wavering, she conjures up these monsters. And at her place of work, this old county courthouse, sure enough, there's this deep stairwell that goes down into these tunnels. And if she's not careful, she's not monitoring herself at all times, these monsters can climb up and escape into the outer world.
So let me get this straight then. If she deviates from her moral compass or her virtues, that's when these demons come up from either in the house or in the work up the stairs, and she has to kill them.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Pretty simple premise, but I have a lot of fun with it.
So okay. So as it says, her strict sense of virtue. So does her strict sense of virtue, is it stricter than, say, a normal, I don't want to say normal person, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like, there's certain religions, your sense of virtue is very strict. Is it something like that? Or is it like she kind of really toes that line?
Yeah. So this is a fairly recent development for her. So she used to be kind of a normal person who would kind of go out and have some beers and, go out on dates and have a social life.
Mm-hmm.
But since this thing has begun to happen to her, she's become very reclusive and very conscientious of any stray thoughts, any stray behaviors, and is kind of living in this really this prison of having to mind her behavior at all times.
Oh, she does a nightly radio show. Got it. Okay, good. Good to know. Okay. Yeah. So okay. I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, what a interesting plot point. And so this is really recent for her, as you said. You know what I also find very interesting, as you create these characters, you know them very intimately, don't you? So just the way that you're talking about her, you're just like, yeah, this is recent for her, this is what she does, whatever. You're talking about her as if she is a real person. I mean, I'm not going to ask you ever think they're real people. I'm not that silly. But I mean, but there is something that, you get this attachment towards these characters, don't you?
For sure, yeah, and I want them to be as real and to feel as real as anybody you might meet. And really, much of the time, like this in specific character is really an amalgamation of so many women that I've come to know, and little pieces and parts of them all kind of glued together and stitched together to form this character. Um, but yeah, it's in you put somebody in I think you really learn about people when they're under stress or when they
Yeah.
have to make tough decisions, right? It's very easy to be a presentable person, over small talk and a dinner, right? When there's very little at stake. But when the chips are down, that's when you learn about people.
I would imagine if you're writing about two separate characters, each one you're writing about them having stressful moments, do you have to kind of really think about that core of that person, because you need to think about how, like, the map of their stress opposed to the map of the other person's stress, because stress isn't handled the same way by each person. So you have to sit there and be, what would she do in this
Yeah.
situation based on this of how I created her?
Yeah, that's kind of fun of it. And really, at the
Yeah.
core of this book is, in many ways, it's about sisterhood. And because we have Abby, our main character, and we have her sister, who is almost like her polar opposite, who is very outgoing and adventurous, and she works in law enforcement, and she's very loud and brash. So, they're great foils against each other, and naturally they kind of come into conflict. But, through the story, we kind of explore that, and we see these pair handle this really outlandish and wild scenario. Um, but the interactions and the people themselves, I think, are very relatable and very down to earth. And hopefully, any of the characters that you read in my book, you feel like you could meet them any day of the week walking down the street.
What happens if she doesn't kill the demons with an axe?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to get into that. That's a
Oh,
little,
so that's a
it
big
is,
plot point.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I don't
Bad,
wanna
I'll leave it at bad things. Bad things happen.
Oh, bad things with demons? I don't okay, if
Right,
you
right.
say it's almost as mind-blowing as you telling me you write more than one draft of your books. I mean, this is all
Right.
I'm learning so much tonight, Joe. I don't even know how to handle it. Okay, so, why don't we do this? Do you think it's a good time to read an excerpt
Yeah,
from the book?
let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Once again, folks, this is an excerpt from They Come From Below, and you can pick up the book over if you want to order it directly from joeprosit.com. Are these books signed if they get it from your website?
You can order them a signed copy on my website,
Okay.
and it'll cost you a little bit more because I have to sign the thing and run it to the mailbox or run it to the post office myself. But on Amazon, they're just blank copies. Well, they're the books unsigned.
Well, and I'm just gonna say, and I wasn't sure because I read a post of yours earlier today. I do have an affiliated link for Amazon for your book on ghostboxradio.com under Ghostbox Book Club. If anyone wants to also support my show while doing it, it's really about Joe, but I'm gonna smush myself in there a little bit as well.
Sure.
And Joe's just like, thanks.
Yeah.
All
No.
right.
Whatever sells books, man.
Right, exactly. Joe, let's get that. Let's hear a little bit from They Come From Below.
All right. Yeah, a little bit of setup. So our protagonist Abby, she is was out and about town, knew this demon was coming. She could feel it coming up, so she ran to the closest place where she knew she could stop it, which is her place of work. She opens the door to a stairwell, and sure enough, there's the demon. But I'll get right into it. It's already halfway up the stairwell, a three-headed thing, all shadows for a body, but with the head of a bull off its right shoulder and the head of a goat off its left, and something close to human in between. Three long tongues wag at me and lap up saliva. The tongue of the human head is forked and longer than the others. The menagerie of creatures takes a step closer. The black talons of a raven clink against the dirty metal step. And here I stand with nothing to defend myself. But I conjured this thing with my thoughts and desires. I can banish it just the same. It is a beast born of my sin and my weakness. So it stands to reason that with the truth, goodness, and mercy I have inside of me, I can send it away just as efficiently, if I have any truth, goodness, and mercy in me. I've leaned heavily on Christian lore to categorize and name these demons, and just as I've memorized the 7 deadly sins, I can also recite the 7 heavenly virtues, the fruits of the Spirit, the 10 commandments, and several other articles of faith of other religions. But more than all the rest, I have committed to memory 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 8. I like lists, and if there are no other weapons or tools available to me, perhaps this simple list and definition of love will work. I close my eyes, stand firm at the top of the stairs, and whisper as quickly as I can. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it is not boastful, it is not arrogant, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it's not irritable, and it keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. I breathe deep, tasting the demon's stench, but I keep my eyes closed. Love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't envy, doesn't boast. Rushing the way I am, the words slip from my memories. It isn't proud, it isn't rude, it isn't self-seeking, it isn't irritable, it keeps no records of wrong. It it Love doesn't delight in evil, I say, but lose my place again. My eyelids fly up at the sound of another talon landing on the step. The beast is only a few feet away from me now. Its fiery eyes stare into my flawed soul and see my cowardice. It's going to kill me. I know it. But I grab the frame of the doorway tight, determined to stop the thing I called up from the blackness, physically, if I can't do it spiritually. I start again. Love is patient, I say, and hear the word for the first time that day. Patient. Patience. It's worthless just to spit out words without understanding their meaning. I have to embrace them. I can't just say things about love. I have to feel love. The demon is only inches away from me now, but I keep my eyes clamped tight. Its 3 mouths push hot, oily, wretched breaths in my face. Still, I remember to be patient, and I start over. Love is patient. Love is kind. I say, giving each sentence its own time and breath. It doesn't envy or boast. It isn't proud or rude or self-seeking. I know I'm not reciting the passage verbatim, but that doesn't matter. I'm saying them as I feel them, as passionately as the Apostle Paul when he first wrote them down 20 centuries ago. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love doesn't delight in evil. At the word evil, the bull lets out a huff from its nostrils, the goat grinds its teeth, and the human growls. I ignore it and keep my eyes shut. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. I'm crying. I'm crying because either the last line in the passage is true or I'm about to die. Beyond my eyelids, I sense that the human head has unlocked its jaws and is ready to sink long, inhuman canine teeth into my neck. My tongue is heavy and numb inside my mouth. My cheeks are wet. I speak the last line. Love never fails. For the span of a heartbeat, I wonder if I'm dead, if death can be this quick and painless and silent. I open my eyes. The empty stairwell pours down into the tunnels below and is eventually swallowed by the darkness. In the metal steps are the smallest traces of a three-pronged foot that cut fresh scars through the old paint and grime. Nothing else. The demon is gone.
Wow. And folks, that's from Joe's newest book, They Come From Below. As you were describing the demon at the start of the excerpt, I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? What twisted life did you lead to come up with that? I'm glad you're over there and not over here with me. I don't know. Wow, that's messed up, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. There's more than one demon in this book, and a lot of the fun of it was coming up with all the different shapes and forms and scary assemblies. And a lot of it, does stem from Christian lore, but it's, and obviously I read a passage from the Bible in this portion, but it's not strictly biblical throughout. This woman, there's a joke in the book because we're set in small town northern Minnesota that her town has both religions, Lutheran and Catholicism.
So I was just looking at comments. Comments here. Wow, cool book and awesome writing. Well, please go and get the book then. Please support, appreciate the comments, but also support our local author here and go over to joeprosit.com and pick it up because that's just a tiny bit of the book. Now, when you are designing in the book these demons, do you draw them out as well just for yourself, or is it all just words and descriptions that create these?
Man, I wish I was a better artist than I am. I'm really not that great of a drawer or painter or anything like that. So it's all words. A lot of times I'll kind of gather different pictures and references from, various sources on the internet. But yeah, my medium is words, and that's where I paint the best pictures.
I totally get it. And just a demented mind is all I'm going to say at the moment. Something else. Why don't we do this? Let's get our second break in here. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. The book is called They Come From Below, written by Joe Prosit. You can pick it up at joeprosit.com. And if anyone has questions, put it in the comments. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I I mentioned Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Speaking of psychic medium, Refined Divine, join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We're going to have Deb on the show. She's not doing one-question readings tomorrow. She'll be back next week to do that. But she's going to come on. She comes on at least once a month to talk about her experiences. And we're going to be talking about her experiences with aliens tomorrow. That's going to be really something to want to listen to. Wednesday, we have Rob Jung. He is a mystery writer, and he has a new show on AM 950 airing once a month this Saturday, Masters of Mystery. We'll be talking about that. Thursday, we're doing a replay with Tom Conwell, Alien Disclosure, Ascension, and all that good stuff. And then, of course, Friday is Casual Friday. We're kind of stacking the deck alien-wise this month, because March is on the 20th is Alien Abduction Day. And as we've been talking about, we have a special 2-hour episode of GhostBox Radio that's going to air on March 20th. And with that, we are going to have Travis Walton. If you've ever seen the film Fire in the Sky, it is based off of his experiences of being abducted by aliens in 1975. Plus Jennifer Stein, the director of the film, Travis Walton, the movie, is going to start at 9 p.m., special time, 9 p.m. on March 20th. And you don't want to miss this. This is going to be just incredible. And we are so excited to do that. We have with us today, we have author Joe Prosit. We are talking about his latest book, They Come From Below. A lot of stuff been going on in the comments, Joe, since we took a break here. A couple things here. And I don't want to say the name because I'm going to mess it up. Do you know how to say this person's name?
Ooh, the Maika?
Is it Maika? And
go with that.
and I apologize if Joe is getting it wrong. But we're gonna go with that. And Maika's been talking about the book, if the book is available in the Netherlands, and Joe has responded, it is available through Amazon Netherlands link. Unfortunately, it's still in English, but that's okay. You can still read it. I mean, it's still there. So yeah, no, that's good. And then they ask, Greg, is that the Annabelle doll behind you? Not the real one, but the one that looks like it. If you're not watching our stream on Facebook, I always have the Annabelle doll behind me. And Joe, I don't know if you ever heard my story. I got this doll from Etsy, and it's a vintage doll. And the moment I brought it into my house, my friend Char Savoy, who's a medium, literally the moment I brought it inside the house, she texts me and she's like, what did you just bring in your house? There's like a new energy in your house. So there you go. I think that's a great start to your next story.
Right.
I mean, how many people come up to you, Joe, and like, I have a great idea for you to write about?
Yeah, not everybody, but it's definitely happened from time to time. And sometimes it's, really cool ideas or really cool things. But it's always got a, especially when it comes to novels, it's really an idea really has to grab a hold of me and kind of not let me go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just find, have you written a story or anything with aliens?
A little bit. Not too much, but I wanted to say the more as I've kind of gone on this journey and been meeting so many people like you and a lot of other people, the paranormal world has kind of found me. And
Sure.
kind of going back to cattails, there's they have a resident witch there as well. She does tarot readings, she does shadow work, a lot of those other things, and a lot of different gemstones and all sorts of things in the store. It's a really cool place. But man, after Luke mentioned that there's tunnels under there, I'm like, what'd be really fun is we should go down there. And I think you might know Russ Victorian.
Oh, I know Russ. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine.
Yep.
And he does all sorts of paranormal investigations. I'm like, man, we should go down in those tunnels because Brainerd on the surface it's a very nice town, but I know in its history there's a lot of dark history in that town, and I'm sure it would be an interesting environment underneath inside those tunnels that really haven't been occupied for decades.
Well, I like it how you said we and Greg should be going down in those tunnels. I like that part of it a lot. I mean, you may not have remembered saying it, but I do. That's that.
I'll smoke a brisket and then we'll go wander around some tunnels underneath Brainerd.
You know how to get to my heart. That's all it takes. We'll have you up. We'll just we'll smoke, we'll barbecue, we'll do whatever, and then we'll just have a paranormal experience. I love that.
That'd be awesome.
That would be actually a lot of fun. Linda says, "Howdy, Joe. What's your favorite researching topic for story development?"
Well, it really depends on what I'm writing. Like for this story, it was definitely a lot about demons, and I was looking at a lot of Christian, more Catholic lore of the different named demons that are in the Bible and things like that. And sometimes it's more technologically advanced. I do write a lot of science fiction. I'm looking forward. I already have my next book. I'm planning about 6 months, hopefully sometime this fall, October, of having the next book out. And that's a completely different thing. And I guess that's kind of like how I was talking before, is that it always has to be something different. It always has to be something new and interesting, because I get bored too easy.
No. And I mean, that's just it. And I mean, that's just a great sign of just a really, creative mind to want to do that. And I don't know, it's really cool. And to get back to They Come From Below, which is available on Amazon, as well as available on joeprosit.com, Barnes and Noble, all this stuff. And you don't have to answer this. I mean, do you come from a Christian background, or are you going into new areas when you were doing the research on some of that stuff?
Yeah, no, I was raised Christian my whole life, went to a private school until I was in 8th grade. So very well, that verse that I read before, 1 Corinthians, that's actually my mom knitted like a quilt that hangs in our bedroom, me and my wife's bedroom.
Yes.
And it's kind of our wedding verse. So it's very familiar to me, and I love the verse. I love the simplicity to it and its meaning, and it's personal to me. So I love being able to incorporate those things into my work.
I was going to say, it's like a personal Easter egg, I suppose.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, those are kind of fun. And that kind of, to me, it seems like it would kind of ground the story a little bit. That kind of keeps it to you. I think that's good. Let's see here. Mikey says, I wrote poems published on Dutch website. To write things that touch people's heart is very powerful. I mean, that must be something you have to every day be like, this is great.
Yeah, I wish. Well, it's great to do.
I mean,
whether what I'm writing is great or not is a whole other question.
Well, I mean, but even if you don't think so, it doesn't mean that everyone else does. And that's the great thing about this, is that you might put out something that maybe in 3 years' time you might be like, yeah, it wasn't probably one of my best. But the people, you'd be probably surprised with how many people would be like, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it is surprising sometimes, especially in the short story world. I see it a lot more because, I'll kick out a collection that has 20 stories in it. In my head, it's, these 3 or these 4 are the big hitters. These are the ones that really are going to grab people. And then I'll have people come up and they'll mention something that, I almost forgot about. It was kind of my, 7th in the batting order story. And they're like, "Oh, this is so great when this and that happened." I'm like, "Oh, you guys like that one? Okay, cool. That's awesome."
Yeah, I think that'd be very surprising, because you're gonna have your own favorites, and your favorites are based on probably stuff in your life or how the process went or whatever else, and it has nothing to do with what other people are looking at as why it's their favorite. And that's kind of the fun thing about it. There's certain things that I think about that I really like, and I hear but there's parts of it that I think are not very good, of different TV shows or something. And to hear someone, there's always that one person, if not a couple, the one that is like universally disliked. You got that one person, it's like, no, that's actually my favorite. And it gets kind of infuriating after a while, always having somebody trying to, kind of being that contrarian. But at the same time, they've really kind of an interesting look at the human brain in a way of how everybody sees something differently.
Yeah. And like my goal is always to make that connection. And I've gotten to the point. I read a lot of Stephen King, probably obviously, and he's better at it than anybody else, I think. And it's gotten to the point where I'll be reading something of his, and I'll come across a passage where it's that immediate connection where I can tie it to specific memories or specific sensations or specific emotions, and it's like I'm right in that book. And I kind of just at this point I just shake my fist. I'm like, damn it, you did it again. But that's my goal, is to make those real connections, so that it's not just a story, it's not just words on a page or mild entertainment. It's that a real connection, a real experience for both me as the writer and for the readers.
That's fantastic. Got some comments here. Nicole says, I've been looking for my next book to read. Already read Look What You Made Me Do. So just ordered this one. Looking forward to getting it. That's cool.
Awesome. I loved Look What You Made Me Do. I still love it. My fastest selling book right now. It's kind of my love letter to all the 70s, 80s, 90s horror slasher movies. It's definitely a lot more of the physical violence and gore aspect. Maybe even call it a little campier. But boy, that character was kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum of this character, who's, mild-mannered and reserved and wants a nice, peaceful life. Taylor in Look What You Made Me Do is kind of this wild, uncontrolled, really her whole life is kind of fraying at the seams every day of her life. And then, she has to deal with extraordinary circumstances, which is kind of my MO, is to take somebody who's maybe already has some problems and just dump a whole lot more onto them.
I'm trying to remember I'm sure we've talked about this before. What's your favorite Stephen King novel?
I think his best standalone book is Pet Sematary.
Ooh, that is good.
I think my favorite series of his is definitely the Dark Tower series. And my favorite Bachman book of his is a tie between The Long Walk and The Regulators. But yeah, so great books, everyone.
Pet Sematary is definitely a favorite of mine. So is Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is always, and I grew up when CBS showed the miniseries in 1979. I was 4 years old,
Oh boy.
What the hell were my parents thinking? Did you watch that at the time, or are you? I don't know.
I didn't watch it at the time. I remember when it
You're like, I
came
wasn't
out on
born yet.
TV
Yeah.
and
Because
watching it way too early
oh
and
yeah.
developing an instant lifelong fear of clowns.
Well, and this one is no different. The cliffhanger for the first part of Salem's Lot probably aged me 15 years when I was 4 years old. So, so I did, but I mean, it's that thing, and we don't have much time left at all. But it's that thing with the books, And when I always think one of my favorite things about reading books and writers is when they talk about, you have those scary moments or whatever else, but when you're talking about everyday life. You're talking about, like, I forget which one it is with Stephen King with the fog, and they're in the supermarket, and they're like grilling chicken in there and stuff, and it comes to life. And maybe because I'm always hungry, that was a big part of it. But I mean, that's the sort of thing, is like being able to, you can write the scary stuff, but can you write the everyday stuff as well? So it just kind of all comes together.
Absolutely, make those connections. That's what it's all about.
Make those connections. So once again, the book is called "They Come From Below," written by Mr. Joe Prosit. Check it out, please, and support your local authors. Probably Joe's going to be in your neighborhood. That's how much he travels. So, but go to joeprosit.com. You can see where he's going to be at. Joe, we're going to have you back on when your next book is available to go, right? I mean, this doesn't end.
Yeah,
here.
Absolutely. Love to be there. Love the show.
And I'm serious about the tunnels, so you better not forget.
We'll have to message. I want to do it.
Anyway, Joe, as always, what a great conversation. Really enjoy having you on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Always love it. We'll be back tomorrow with Refined Divine talking about aliens. Everybody, have a fantastic night.